I think I told you, sisters and brothers, my father was an electrician. I come from a long line of electricians, of course. My grandfather was an electrician. My father was an electrician. My sister was an electrician. My brother is still an electrician. It's his birthday today. I'm the black sheep of the family, you see. That's why I have to wear this. My father was an electrician, but he never wanted to be an electrician. My father ended up being an electrician, but he wanted to be a farmer. He would, as a child, as a young boy, as a teenager, he would come out and work the family farm in the summer out in Leroy, Kansas. You know, my grandmother grew up in Emporia. Nobody believes in one quarter Kansas. He was even in the FFA in Queens, New York at Newtown High School. Back when the FFA was still the Future Farmers of America. For some reason, they're just calling it FFA with no words attached to letters for some reason I don't understand. Maybe some of you FFA folks can explain it to me. My father was an electrician, but he could never get the agriculture bug out of his system, the horticulture bug out of his system. And over the course of years, sisters and brothers, he decided to turn large swaths of our little suburban Long Island property into an ever-growing garden. And before he bought the rototiller, which is a story for another homily, all he had to do to turn big patches of lawn into garden was a garden fork and his 4 kids, the eldest of which got the bulk of the garden fork duty. Yes, pushing down into the ground, the garden forks, and picking up this whole big square of lawn and dirt and turning it over. And then going over the week later and turning it over again. So there would be nice, rich soil. So Dad could plant his string beans and his peppers and his tomatoes. And I know this is surprising. When I was in junior high school, they call it middle school now, when I was 7th and 8th grade, I was tasked with getting this garden fork out and turning the soil over. And believe it or not, when I was in junior high school, I could think of better things to do on a Saturday morning. Oh, there I was, sisters and brothers, turning the soil over. And I got really frustrated and irritated. And I explained with great vim and vigor that I was not interested in doing this. And for emphasis, I drove the garden fork into the ground. Unfortunately for me, my boot was in the way. And my foot was in that boot. So I ended up with 2 extra holes in my boot until I grew out of those boots. And thanks be to God, I came out with the same number of toes I went into that morning with. I just nicked a little piece of skin between my grand toe and my index toe. And it got me out of work for the rest of the day. But I wasn't allowed to watch television. Can you imagine such a thing? Oh. Sisters and brothers, you who are farmers know better than I do. You who are more competent gardeners than I will ever be. Those who perhaps caught the agriculture bug from your parents, or the horticulture bug from your parents, know better than I that planting good seed, raising good plants requires good soil. And you, farmers and gardeners, know better than I that good soil needs work. Good soil needs care. God sends his graces upon us, his love upon us, his word upon us, his seed upon us, to be planted deep in the soil that is our souls, within our hearts, within our minds. Just as the heavens and the rain and snow come down, so does his love, his grace, his word come upon us, so that his word be that goes forth from his mouth, planted in us. And we see what happens, and our Lord tells us what happens when that seed falls on soil that's not so prepared, that hasn't had a lot of work done to it, that's not been cared for. Some seed fell on the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on the rocky ground where it had little soil. Some seed fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew and choked it. On the other hand, some seed fell on rich soil. Good soil takes good work. And how resistant are we, sisters and brothers, to doing that work? How resistant are we even to letting Christ do the work in us? And that's not new. Jesus spoke to them in parables because they look but do not see, and hear but do not listen or understand. They were not interested in the hard work of taking care of the soil of their hearts, of their souls, of their minds. And often, sisters and brothers, neither are we. He gives us not only sisters and brothers, he does most of the work for us. He gives us his sacred word. He gives us the sacraments, especially, yes, the sacrament of reconciliation, so that he can prepare the land that is our hearts, our souls, our minds, drenching its furrows, breaking up its clods, breaking up our sinfulness, breaking up our selfishness, breaking up our reticence, breaking up our resistance, so that pouring his love into our hearts, his grace into our hearts, his word into our hearts, his seed into our hearts, we may have the grace to reject whatever is contrary to the name of Christ, to strive after all that does it honor. The soil that is our souls, the soil that is our mind, the soil that is our heart, needs to be worked. And that's difficult, oftentimes, sisters and brothers. But at the same time, the sufferings of this present time are as nothing as compared to with the glory to be revealed for us. We fight back. We are resistant, even to the point of our own self-injury, even to the point of losing a good pair of boots. Our challenge today, sisters and brothers, our opportunity this week, is to let Christ work the soil that is our hearts, that is our minds, that is our soul, taking advantage of the sacraments, taking care of his divine word, taking care of each other, and be willing to do that spiritual elbow grease ourselves, so that we may better hear the word and understand it, that we may better bear fruit and yields 100 or 60, or even just 30-fold. Whoever has ears ought to hear. Praise be Jesus Christ.